Three, two, one, and we are live. Good evening, everyone. It is day 60 of 100 days of code in the code call here live. And if you're watching the recording, hello, welcome to join us live. It's always fun because we have a very fun and special guest. Today with us is Leon Andersen. How are you doing?
Hello world, Leon Andersen in the house. Doing good, doing good. Basically today I had a bit less time than the past few days, which were graciously filled with coding. But I managed to watch through the next section, but I didn't do any real coding along. I just noted down some of the syntax. I wrote down one question which relates a bit to what we did yesterday, because today's session was basically just implementing what we did yesterday into Yelp Camp, into the project of the course. And yeah, basically, what can I? Is there anything new? No, I think actually there was not really anything new. The merge params thing was new. So basically, um, we broke the campground routes and review routes out of our index file, and we made them into separate express route files, express router files, um, which are still JavaScript files, but you can, yeah, just as I explained yesterday, you can take all the routes of one domain, one subdomain, um, and and put them into one file, and basically access them from the app.js through. I don't know if you have to require. Yeah, you have to require definitely the router thing, but you also have to app.use the path that goes to your router page. And yeah, honestly, I don't have the syntax in. Yeah, I don't know it by heart, which I heard is okay in this case. Even well, express routing might be something that I'll use more often, as far as I remember. But anyway, the thing is, sometimes if you sometimes the response handler, request handlers from one express router file may need to access some of the contents that are related to your other express handlers. And yeah, for that, to make sure that they can basically access each other, you have to do a merge params colon true, but I don't remember where we have it exactly. Let me check. Where we write that down exactly. Oh yeah, somewhere around here. Should have it. Ah, yeah, basically in the express router files, you have to do const router equals express dot router, and then inside of that brackets you have to do curly brackets merge params true to be able to access. Oh yeah, you already wrote that. Didn't look on this part of the screen. Um, and you basically have to do that, as far as I remember, in all of the express router files to link or that need to be linked between. You can't just do it in one, as far as I know. And child router, parent router. I think we didn't do anything like that. Parent router, child router. Well, as far as I remember, both of the routers were parents and childs to each other. Is that possible?
Don't think so. I don't know if the child router can also use the parent router because that would be redundant. Let me check. This is just the like mainstream example where you have parent router and child router. Obviously, they might not be named this way. I just named them here to make it super obvious. Um, yeah, like I don't see anything like that in like both routers. Like usually they only have it one way. Let's just say it like that. I don't know if it's possible, but I don't see anything in the box about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, in the example in the course, we have campgrounds as one router and reviews as another one. And the reviews are, I guess, the childs of the campgrounds because you will always have the reviews on some of the campground sites and not the other way around. You don't have campgrounds on the reviews side. But wouldn't it be possible to set up like a page where we can sort by reviews and see? I mean, I haven't seen any service or any platform do it this way. I mean, it would be like going to Amazon, sorting by, or like sorting random good reviews of random products, and then from there going to the products. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that could make sense. I just don't know if, I mean, I don't see anything against this other than maybe it causes an infinite loop. I don't know. One would have to test it.
Okay, because as far as it looks, the merge params just seems like a setting, not really like a route. So maybe it's just we can just use it as a setting.
Yeah, it's a setting for the child router to be able to have access to the parent router.
Okay, and the parent router has access to the child router by default, or what?
No, I mean, yeah, kind of, right? Because that's also a good question. Um, hmm, check that. These are
Smack
definitely
that.
in the territory hypothetical edge cases that will probably not happen in the real world. But let's see. Oh, no, the parent router does not have access to the child daughters per round, even with multiple rounds. Because the parent daughter's middleware and routes are processed before the child daughters.
Because the middleware of the parent router gets processed before the child router,
Yeah, exactly.
or before the middleware of the child router.
Both.
Both.
Or I mean both in the sense that processing the child daughter means processing the child daughter's middleware and routes.
Yeah. And even if we do async stuff.
Yeah. So here in the box it says, by the time the request gets to the parent daughter, the child daughter specific parameters are not yet determined.
But if we await the stuff,
Still right, it's the order in which the things probably get processed. But also, I think a parent daughter's route would never activate if you know, so let's say we have a child daughter, which also has an ID, right? Like /child ID here. In order to provide this, the child ID would have to visit /parent /parent ID /child ID. But these parent routers routes only have access to this path, right? So as soon as we add this path in a request, the parent router never gets
never gets what?
like the parent router's specific routes are not activated, right? Because they don't match the path.
Wait, if we access the path from line 30, for example, why doesn't it access the parent path? Isn't it part
Because
of the path?
let's say we define something on the parent router. Let's say we say, hey, we have a route here, parent router dot get /child / parent /colon parent ID. Like this, oh no, we would have an index route because that is our. I mean, this stuff is complicated if we do it like this. But basically, this is the route, right, with which we hook it up, and then our app uses the parent router. So if we just want to have a route /parent ID, it would be the index route and the parent router. So we have a request, a response here, and then we do something with it. But the main thing here is that this route only gets activated if the request is exactly again /parent ID.
Yeah, that's the point, I guess. Yeah. That makes sense for sure. Okay, yeah, I'll just look out for this whole dynamic in the future and see. Yeah, pretty much the same as yesterday. I just need more application, more examples to get the context to really. I don't know the word in English, but sorting it into the right places in my mind. Yeah, I mean, you're muted if you said something, but
No, now I'm also creating weird hypotheses in my head that I'm investigating. You know, like I thought, okay, what if this route right here? We put in /child colon child ID, right? Then we have it overloaded. Then the parent router has this route and the child router too. Again, like never a scenario that I've ever seen in the real world, but I know all those. No, it's no longer Overload. Is it? It's Overload, yeah. What would be happening?
Okay, yeah. I I don't know how that would be possible. What you described, like using the same route for different routers, or like how what I didn't fully get what you were describing. Using the same path for different routers.
Yeah, wait, I'm thinking of those. The parent router matches parent route ID. And since that's the middleware, it would pass the stuff to the child router. Then the child router has access to it, would execute. So, what at the same time, well, this is complicated. I actually don't know. Like the only thing that I know, one of these two would win. And if the parent router also has a response.send, so if both have a response.send, one of the two would win and fire first, which is deterministic. We would have to test it out to see what happens. But yeah, one of the two would win, and then they would send a response, and that means the other one could not send a response anymore. And we would probably get one successful reply and a crash. But I don't know which of these two would be the successful reply and which of these two would be the crash.
Got it. Yeah, I think other than that, well, serving static assets. What was that? Well, yeah, we did some little additions for sure. Um, the static asset. What was that again? So inside of our boilerplate file, I don't know the what boilerplate means really, but I understood uh, it's kind of like a template or a blueprint page. Um, we basically split up, like we had some JavaScript in there. So the boilerplate template basically is an EJS file, embedded JavaScript, and inside of the body we had some longer JavaScript file from Bootstrap from the validation function for the forms that we are using, and we basically just took it from the main boilerplate page to a separate JavaScript page in a public. I don't know why it's called public, the folder, but yeah, we have a folder called public, and inside we have we made a folder for the JavaScripts and a folder for the style sheets for later. And I think we connected them just by script source. Like the point where we, for example, if we use JavaScript in an HTML file, we usually post it right at the end of the body with script basically, and we use we put the source of the file, we put the file path as the source. So the JavaScript that we had in there fully before we put it into validate forms.js, and now we just have script source validate forms.js. accessing that file. Not sure if that's the static asset really, but it would make sense if that's it. Is that static asset, or is that something else?
Yeah, static assets are stuff like CSS images.
Got it. Also, scripts for validating forms.
That depends. Yeah, if you have like a public folder where you serve your scripts, those are also parts of your static assets. Yeah.
Why is what is it about the public thing? Like, why does it need to be public? I don't get it.
That's just convention that the public folder always contains the static assets. That's just something that people came up with, but it doesn't matter. You could also name it Jeremy. Would still work.
And other than like, what other functions does or what other roles does the public folder have? Like, and like, why is it public? Is it public because you can see it through the browser, or is it like public to whom? I don't get it.
Is it public because public, like, I mean, everything that you serve to your users is kind of public, right? Unless you put it behind authentication from cookies. So yeah, I guess you could say usually people name the folder public because they never put an authentication wall before serving the CSS, for example. So usually every user could get every route's CSS, but not every route's content, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we wouldn't save the contents in there. I mean, we have the contents in the database anyway in MongoDB, for example. So that's not public then, I guess.
No, the content in the database is not public, right? Because it's usually behind your authentication wall with cookies and only gets served through talking to a route.
Okay. What other stuff, except for style sheets and JavaScript functions, is usually inside of the public folder?
Images, fonts, for example, too.
But probably like images and fonts that are used often, like logos and stuff, not like content images, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So probably you would not put into a public folder like every post of every Twitter user ever, right? You would fetch those on demand. But exactly like the logo maybe, or maybe sometimes Twitter has like a fancy login screen. That would be the, yeah.
Got it. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So, and then we also configured session. Basically, we added some stuff inside of we as far as I remember, to activate session we have to use app.use and then put just session with brackets inside there as well. But we can configure a session by putting by parsing a session config object inside of that as well. And yeah, inside of like we just wrote const session config equals curly brackets secret colon, this should be a better secret, resave colon false, and save uninitialized colon true. So basically just some settings, and we can then we then wrote that session config into the session function. But I didn't, like, the resave thing was like just to just to handle with some errors that were about deprecated deprecated functions or features. And yeah, we like stuff like what did we have?
So we looked at how Session and Flash worked yesterday, right? Like what would be interesting to know is for the outcome project, what was Session and Flash used for?
So Flash we used for success and error messages today.
Good.
For example, when successfully creating a new campground or successfully submitting a review or successfully deleting whatever. And yeah, we created some Flash partials for errors to for certain situations, and we basically just triggered them from the request handlers. For example, we had like, if the URL is not a campground ID, then send this Flash error. Else go to the page that can be accessed through that ID. Stuff like that. And yeah, but configuring session seemed a bit useless because, I mean, I guess it was just for demonstration purpose. We had, yeah, just some secret in there. I don't know what that secret was for. Maybe for signing it, but I don't know. It didn't really get it. And yeah, and we also had like cookie colon, and then we filled in an expiration date. But like there was nothing else that was saved in the cookie, so I didn't fully get what we did the session configuration for. I don't know.
Got it.
What would you guess was this for from my description?
I'm not quite sure, but I think the main part is that you used Flash for the errors and Sessions for tracking the site visits.
Yeah, we didn't use any site visits. Didn't implement any site visit tracking.
But then I don't understand what you used Session for.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay.
I mean, the next section is authentication, so maybe that was a setup for the next section, but I don't know if we will actually use a session for that. But
I think they're going into the details of what we talked yesterday, like hashing and stuff like that. So it's going to be super interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, basically, yeah, I guess so. Tomorrow is going to be an interesting section. Tomorrow I have probably less work to do for my day job, and I might get the full section on authentication, and maybe even the next section on adding the authentication into the Yelp camp. That could work to get both.
Why?
I give my best.
So in the meantime, I also looked up because I always try and want to answer everything that we asked here on stream. So I looked up exactly how this works. So this is what our question of earlier. So first of all, we made a mistake. The mistake is that if we put in here /child ID, because the parent router is being used by the app. So if we put in this right here, then the route that we actually hooked up is just this. Okay? Because the parent router has no prefix when it's directly used by the app. So this is just like hooking up a route on the index. Make sense?
Yeah, I mean, is this supposed to be a representative file? Because we didn't have parent and child routers in the same file.
It doesn't matter.
Anyway.
The file locator doesn't matter. It just matters the order of hookups, basically. And the only thing that matters is the order of in which the order in which the code gets executed. And that's, in this case, if we just put it in one file, just top down.
Okay. So what does the app.use of the parent router thing have to do with line 21 then?
Okay, so when we use a router, right, and we don't configure any specific route, then it is as if we put all of the router's route and add them to the index route, right? So we just have the normal index route. The parent router has a get route defined for /child ID. Previously, we thought it would conflict, but it actually doesn't, because only the child router's routes are prefixed by /parent/parent ID. Make sense?
Yes.
So this is the route that we looked up. So in order to create the conflict that we talked earlier about, we would have to look up this parent router's route here. And now this parent router's route is conflicting with this route, because this route is matched with /parent ID, /parent/parent ID, /child/child ID. And this route is also /parent ID, /parent/parent ID, /child/child ID. Right? So now we have a conflict here. But the solution is actually pretty simple, because this happens before this happens. This is evaluated first. And if this is, as I said earlier, sending a response, that means the response headers have been set and everything afterwards doesn't work. So this is simply ignored.
Well, the problem is that I don't understand what the whole thing is about, because the use case where I saw it was that we have one app.js file, one file for the parent router, and one file for the child router, and I don't recognize any pattern that I know in this file. It's
Okay, I see. So it's very simple. So we can separate this in files. It doesn't matter. We're just moving code right now. It does not change the behavior whatsoever. But let me change it and watch closely how I change it, because that will show you that you could kind of, when you looked at math, right? Let's do a quick detail in math. So assume we have a paper sheet where we are writing down math equations, right? And we have a division, right? When you write down a division on paper, you put, for example, let's write 4/3, right? That would look something like this. You would write a 4, you would draw a line on your sheet of paper, and you would write a 3. So far following?
Yes.
That's right. And in math, there's this concept of basically, how do you call it in English? Crossing out. Yeah, you can cross out numbers. So we could multiply this division by, let's say, just 1, and it would still be the same. So we could say this is the same as times 1/1, right? And then there is a law where we can, if there is a times between two divisions, what is the English word for this? Not a division. It's um, fraction. Oh, okay, so if we have two fractions and we multiply them, there's a law that we can also say, hey, we can write them um, over the same line, right? We can write as the same fraction and just multiply each number on top of the fraction and each number of on the bottom of the fraction. So far following.
Mm-hmm.
And we can always cross out the same numbers to simplify something, right? So if this was a 3 and this was a 4, we could cross out this 4 with this 4 and this 3 with this 3, and what would be left over is just 1, right? Or if this was a 5, we could cross out this 3 and this 3, and then we have this 4 and this 5, and the result would be 4 fifths, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why did we do a quick detail to crossing out? Because moving code to a different file does not affect the execution. It only affects the location of the code, but that does not change the execution. So watch how I just take the parent router code here. This one, I delete it from here, delete it. I put it in here. Then we need to import express const express equals to require express like this, and we save that file and we call it parent router.js, save it, and then we say module.export equals to parent router, and we do the same with the child router. So let's actually move this one in here so we can grab both of it at the same time, like this. And we create a new file here, new text file, put it in here. It's also from where's the parent router? From the parent router, like right here. We grab express again, and then we say module dot export equals to child router like this, and we save it and we call it child router.js like this. Okay. And now in our, you can envision this as the app.js file or the index.js file, right? The naming doesn't matter. We can in here now say const parent router equals to require dot slash parent router. And we can say const child router equals to require dot slash child router. And now the rest of the code stays the same. In here, in this lookup file, we now say parent router use the child router, and we're good. Or we could also move this into the parent router if that was how you set it up in your project. That doesn't matter. But you see now how the example is the same. I just moved the code. I didn't change anything else.
Well, I don't like. I don't see any results of the before and after. I just see that you moved stuff around, and it's just telling me that it's the same. But it's like I don't know if the results are the same. I have no idea.
They are. So trust me, bro. But they are.
Yeah, but it's not like visible at any point. It's like you just moved it around, but I have no idea how that would affect it.
It doesn't.
mean-
That's the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I can't see any. I wouldn't be able to see any effects if they would occur anyway. You could move stuff around and change stuff. I wouldn't see anything of. If anything would change, I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't be able to recognize it. Like so, the thing is, I have no idea um, what um, the routing structure basically of split of like, because you were talking about the different URLs, the different paths, right? And
Yeah.
some of them start at the index, some don't, or I don't know. But the thing is, that in the section, when we put them into different files, we made all of the so the main, I just have the association with having different files that they all start with different with the same path. I guess you can have the same path for different different routes in the, or different handlers in the same file, but to me I just remember the whole the lesson as a whole, but not, I can't pull apart the individual elements of the lesson so far yet. So I don't, like, I have to rebuild it the same to make sure to then access individual parts of the lesson. I don't know how to describe it, but so the whole how to route this stuff was in the section as well pretty messy, because he messed up the routes several times as well and had to go back and redo the routes, and I got confused. Like he had to use the dots at the beginning of the before the slashes to go directory before, so the route matches again, and like it was very like he I have to see it in a structured way to be able to see the patterns. If it's all mixed through another, I don't see the patterns yet. So
got it.
In different files to be able to see what route is actually happening and what part or what handler belongs together.
Got it. So yeah, I tried to simplify that by doing it all in one file. But yeah.
So why is the parent router.use in the and what is the merge file? Is it the same as the app.js? Like, what is the
that's what I mentioned in between, right? The name of this router merge file doesn't matter. You can think of this as the index file. You can think of this as the app.js file. It's just the file where we put everything together. But the router mod, I just literally named it that because of the merge params earlier, because that was the example that we wanted to show.
Yes. But to me, it matters to have the files named in a way where I can relate them to the lesson. So, okay. So why is the parent router.use in the index file? Why do we need that?
That's what I asked you in between. Like, did you do that in the parent router, or did you do that in your app.js file?
The merging.
The one that where you say that the basically the equivalent line for you would have been, I think, campground router.use some string comma reduce router.
I have no idea where this is where this is being. I don't remember any case that is similar to that.
Okay. Well, maybe this is too complicated into hypothetical, and yeah, we'll just sort. If this ever gives you real world problems, then we're gonna sort it out when we get to it.
Yeah, I mean, I just rewatched the videos tomorrow.
Sure. But again, I don't think it's too important, because yeah, when it should ever cause problems, which I I'm almost sure it won't, because usually when people, even if they create their first routers and stuff, either they can just read their Conix code because routers already exist, or if you ever build it from scratch, you will build everything yourself, so you will know each line of code. So yeah, we're right now talking about a problem that I have not seen yet come up in real life.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the basic, the main reason for using routers, as far as I understood it, was to be able to put the handlers into different files, so it's more
Yes,
structured. So
yes.
so why would I put them in the same file then, using
That
routers?
was to not confuse you about moving the child and parent routers around, so you see it can all just be in one file, and you can focus on the main thing, you know.
Okay.
That was my intent.
It created the exact opposite.
Exactly. But I think it's good in the sense that
Okay.
by me kind of, even though it can be confusing at first, I think it'll intuitively give you a lot, or it'll give you an it will give you an intuitive feeling for what actually matters and what don't, because the actual file structure very rarely matters. Like one of the only um cases where it will matter in the real world is with the routing in Remix and Next.js apps, because they have a file-based routing system. So basically, how you name your file will be the path to your route. But that's a kind of worms that we open when we get there. In almost
Okay.
anything else that you build, where your files live, like if you feel like it, you could create 1,000 folders, you know, a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder, and put your file in there, and then just import it with like a lot of dots and slashes, and
Yes.
it would just make the code more complicated, but it would not change the execution mode server.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I thought to myself while watching this whole thing, like both yesterday and today, while watching the part on routes, was like, why would I even like, I didn't get what's the, like, okay, it looks a bit more like, it looks more structured, but I didn't get why we would use it anyway. So
So
that's
the main reason why people break out code and put it in different files is to reduce cognitive load and to make the code more easy to navigate. So that funny enough, there is a minority of people that really like giant files. So that, and there's even a language called ELM, that is famous for having very large files, because there the community consensus is that you should just create as large files as possible, and only if it's really necessary break out code. But in most languages, and in the majority, for example, in the JavaScript ecosystem, one of the consensus is to break out code that belongs together into certain files, to make it easier to find stuff. For example, let's say you want to find all of the routes for your reviews. You just open the review router, right? And you will not be distracted by code that is only related to the campground. And the other reason is that it makes code easier to read in theory for the people, for the proponents of this file structure, because smaller files are easier to understand everything, right? If you have a file with like 4,000 lines of code and you're reading one of the functions, you don't know, okay, what of these other lines might also be relevant, especially if the code is written in an ugly way, versus files can give you a little bit of a sense of, hey, only everything what is in this file is probably relevant to understand everything that's going on here.
okay. Yeah, because it seemed um, a bit redundant, because we had to require express again. We had to do the merge params. We had to require campground. We had to require review. We had to require
Yeah.
the schemas. We had to require the express errors, the async, catch async, and I was like, why are we doing this for like again and again? That like so okay.
Well, I think I have a good example. So let's say you are moving into a new flat, right? And you're getting a new um, how do you call it in English? Let me quickly look up the word.
Furniture?
A new wardrobe for all of your clothing, right? In theory, you could have just a huge wardrobe and you put at the bottom, you put all of your hoodies. Then on top of that, you put your pants. Then you put your underwear, your sock, right? You just have this huge pile. Um, but in general, how we do it, we have drawers in your wardrobe, right? So you have a drawer where maybe there are your socks. Then you have a drawer for maybe your t-shirts, and then you have some hooks, hanger for your jackets and your hoodies, right? And that just makes it easier to find because if you want to grab your socks, you just open the socks drawer and grab one of your socks. You don't need to basically dive into that huge pile of clothing to grab the item that you want. And but simultaneously, you could say, well, but having all these drawers and the hangers for the hooks and stuff like that, um, those would increase the amount of wood I need to create the wardrobe. Yes, you have more requires. Well, that's basically the equivalent in this metaphor.
Got it.
But at the same time, it makes it more neatly organized.
Okay. Yeah, I can live with that.
But
Yeah, but okay, so um, so you put both routers in the same file just for to not confuse me, but you would recommend to still use it in different files.
yes, if it's a big app, yes. Yes.
Okay.
So I would make it dependent on the size of your app. If your Express app grows so big that you want to start using routers, then you probably also want to start multiple files. If your Express app is small and only has like a handful of routes, you can just keep it in one file.
Okay, and as far as I know, you have a rough idea about the Yelp Camp project. Would you say it makes sense in this project? Is it big enough for router files or not?
Yeah, I think it could make sense, if, especially in the context of like campgrounds versus reviews, to split the two so that it's all confined by feature.
Got it. Okay. All right. Yeah,
No,
that
that backfired horribly. I'm thinking like maybe there could have been a different approach to prepare you for what I've done, but I think taking away the different files made it more confusing for you, even though the point was to simplify to show you, hey, it can also all be in the same file. But yeah, shit happens.
no worries. So line 23, was that about the special case that you were talking about, or is that something that is common?
That is common, but the location could either be in the parent router or here. So either right now we are in our uh, index.js file, app.js file, right? This is the file where we would call app.listen somewhere. Right? You can
Okay.
imagine this file that pulls everything together basically. This
Mhm.
line could live in this file, or this line could also go into the parent router. Then this file right here, because it only imports the child router here, it only requires the child router to hook it up to the parent router. If we hook this up in the parent router, then the parent router would be the one to import the child router here below, or even above defining itself. So probably it would import the child router here in line 2, and then it would hook up the parent router to the child router here somewhere. Then it would export the parent router, and then in the file where we pull everything together, it would no longer need to import the child router because this line has moved into the parent router.
Okay. But if we have both lines above as well, why do we need line 23?
If we have both lines above, what do you mean with that?
The use parent router and use child router. Can you scroll up?
Yeah,
Line 7 and 8. No, line 4 and 5.
those are the requires, right? That are not users. There we import the two things from the other file.
Yes. So if we have both of these, why do we need line 23?
Because so if we don't have line 23, so okay, maybe there's a confusion about what this one router using another router does. So that is what I wanted to show here. Basically, when one although this wasn't shown here, so okay, start over. So we import both of them here because the parent router uses the child router, and then the app uses the parent router.
But why does the parent router use the child router?
Okay.
Is that like
Yeah.
some specific connection that's needed, or is this just an example of an abstraction of the parent router using the child router?
So usually the way stuff is structured in URLs, it goes from abstract to specific. So what does that mean, right? In the Yelp Camp app, we have campgrounds and we have reviews. And the reviews, you could argue, are more specific than a campground because you can ask for information about a campground, but in the context of Yelp Camp, it only makes sense to ask about reviews if you know the campground, right? Because for the campground, we have the URL/campground, maybe to get all the campgrounds, right? Get all the campgrounds. Then we might have something like /campgrounds /campground ID that gets a specific campground, and then we maybe also have /camp /new that lets us create a new campground. And then if we want to access the reviews, usually we always specify the campground before. So we say /campgrounds, campground ID, /reviews to get all the reviews for a specific campground. And then if we want to get a specific review, it would be /campground/campground ID/reviews/review ID. And in order to not always have to specify this manually, we can say, hey, our campground router is using /campgrounds/campground ID the use router. Now, because of this line, this is always prefixed.
Why is there the reviews router and the campground router.use? I don't get it. Like what is the second parameter that you put inside of that campground router? Is it middleware or is that
this one?
Yeah,
that is the reviews router that we create. So obviously in the first file, in this one, we would say something like const campground router equals to express.router. And here we would say something like const reviews router equals to express.router. And then we hook up all the routes. So here we would hook up reviews router dot get is equal to /reviews, and then we'll probably also because maybe we also have a get route for review ID like this, and in the campground router we would hook up these routes like this. Does that answer the question?
Yes, but in those you don't use a second argument. What is what is the second argument of reviews router? What does it have to do inside of campground router.use?
So only like obviously we would use a second argument here, right? We would say request, but I just left it out for brevity.
So
we
the
would
reviews router is like in line 44, reviews router is an abbreviation for somewhere in there might be reviews router will be used somewhere inside of that, or
you can think about it so the router is not middleware, so don't mentally equate the two. However, we saw examples when we looked at the middleware code a couple days or even weeks ago, right? Where we said, hey, for example, I don't remember the specific example, sorry, but it was something like, I don't know, slash docs, right? At that use docs, and then requests, response next, and we would do something here like console.log I love docs or something like that was the example, and then we call next, right? So you can, you already saw that you can hook up middleware or without the const, and this const is also too much. Well, I'm an idiot. You saw examples where we would look up middleware that would only account for specific rounds by using this two-line syntax. Obviously, we can also write middleware that fires on every route, response, next, and then we had our thing here when we do something. And this basically says, hey, for all of these routes, if we stick in a router, that basically concatenates the file, the paths to the routes. So because in the end, we're going to say app.use campground router, that means here there is no prefix. No prefix is the equivalent of just having the index route here, but we use no prefix. Let me actually copy this, put it here as a comment so we see it's the same. This says, hey, and then obviously somewhere later I would say app.listen. This says use the campground router, and the campground router is first of all of these routes, right? Imagine we added them all to the campground router. I'm just going to create the last one /campground/new. Need to put in this, and then we would have some requests and a response here like this. But and these other three, imagine these other are also on this one, right? And this line here just says we now have all of these three routes hooked up on our base app. And now we say, okay, the campground router under this URL is using the reviews router. Usually, if we would just say app.use reviews router, we would only get these two new paths. So if we would say app.use reviews router, we would only get, let me delete the superfluous stuff, this and this, because the reviews router only defines a get round to /reviews and a get round to /review/review ID. That means just using the reviews router in plain would give us these two new routes. But we're not doing that. We're saying campground router.use /campground/campground ID. That means all of these routes now are defined like this. So they are
but why don't we
prefixed.
just put it in the reviews router directly? The URL.
You could do that, but this is generally the way where we prefix all of the routes automatically for you, so that wherever you import the campground router, you're now also automatically importing all of these routes. Right?
Okay.
Otherwise, whenever you want to have the if you wouldn't do this, if you import the campground router somewhere and use it, you do not get the reviews routes. So this all bundles it together into the campground router, so that when we require that, we get the reviews routes together with the campground router, and we don't need to additionally import that. And in a real Express app, you can have routers within routers within routers. And then it makes a lot more sense to just import that one thing that contains everything, instead of importing everything, one by one, and then hooking everything up one by one. in addition to that, we would also have to duplicate all of these routes, right? If we ever change this URL for some reason, we just have to change one line of code, only the line where we use app.use, versus when we would hook these prefixes up to each is use router route manually, and we want to change it, then we need to change many lines of code.
Got it. I'm not sure if Cold used that function or that feature, but I'll look through the videos tomorrow again. But okay, now I know what this is about. Okay,
So does this now all make more sense?
yeah. It's
Good.
URL prefix.
You're prefixing exactly and bundling routes together so that you have you grab everything that is used by the parent router. So the parent router uses the child router, and then if you use the parent router somewhere, you also get all the child router's routes because they're now bundled into the parent router with the given
Do we
prefix.
still need the merge params.true? Do we still need that?
Yes, it is. We would need that when we define the reduce router. So this one would need to say merge params true in order to have access to this campground ID. It has access to the review ID because that is defined on the router. But if the child router wants to access the params that are hooked up basically here in this line, then we need to say merge params true.
Got it. So if the child router wants to access yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So usually when we have app.use, we can put a route, a middleware, and a callback function inside. Am I correct?
We can put in
and an arrow maybe as well.
Yeah, I think you misspoke. I think you meant router, right? We can put in a router, a middleware, or a handler.
No, I mean the URL that's always in the beginning of any handler.
Yeah, but that you can. If I understand you correctly, I'm sorry.
So in line 47 we have /campground / campground ID. Is this a router or is this a route?
Oh no, I get it. That's a good point. I would say that's the route path. If you want to be very strict.
Okay, path. Okay, path. So like in all of the handlers, no matter if get, put, whatever, we can insert a path, a middleware, and a callback function. Or is there anything, or like I'm wondering, how do I know that I can use this space where we have reviews router in line 47 to actually insert reviews router to prefix it? Because like in my mind it's like there are just some specifics there, like you can't just put like random stuff inside of those brackets. It has to be specific. It has to have specific roles, like
Yes, it is. So
like what kind of role, like what do you call this role of reviews router in line 47? Is that a callback function or is that a
no, that's a router.
Pardon?
That's a router.
Okay, so we can import routers as well.
Yes, so
Okay, we didn't have that.
get is different from so get, post, etc. are different from use, right? So for use, we can put in either a router, a middleware,
Arrow.
path, and a middleware. We can put in a path and a router. Yeah, those are all the things that we can put in for use, right?
Not
But
not error.
what do you mean with error?
Can we put an error inside?
Error is also middleware, right?
Uh,
Middleware can either
Error is a
be
middleware with 4
with
parameters.
4 parameters, exactly. Yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
So those
Okay.
are the 4 things we can put into use, right? And into these, etc. We can only put in a path and a handle, or a path plus a router.
So a handler is the callback function.
Yes.
Okay, I always thought the get itself is already the handler.
Yes. No. I mean, okay, we can put in a path. We can also put in a middleware and a handler, right? You had that example where you had slash something
Yeah.
slash verified password, and then you define the handler.
Okay, and how do you call the whole thing starting from app.get until its last semicolon? Is that also a handler, or is that
How do you call the whole thing from app.get? You mean this?
yes?
That is a path and the handler.
Yeah, but including the reviews router.get, like the whole construct.
This is just called hooking up a get route, I guess. You hook up a get route to the path slash reviews using this handler.
So the handler is the same as a request handler.
Yeah, request handler. So callback function is the most general term, right? Because you could argue if you have a map function, if you say 1, 2, 3 right dot map, you could say if we write n times 2, then this is the callback for the map function. What callback just means any function that is passed anywhere as an argument is kind of a callback function, right? Because
Yes.
this thing is calling back this one when it needs to, right? So callback
Yes.
is the generic term. And
Yes.
then handler is also a very generic term that is basically used whenever something gets handled by something. And then we're really into like arbitrary semantics right here, because why would we not call this a handler, right? This is not called a map handler. I don't know. People just don't do it. It's like, why are we not calling, why are we calling cats, I don't know if I can say this on stream, PUSSY, but we don't call it dogs, but it's just a specific synonym that is only used for cats, not for dogs, right? And therefore the synonym handler, for some reason, is generally used for stuff like requests, it's very often used in the context of APIs of servers and stuff. And then you can make it more specific. So you can say, I have a bag, but you can make it more specific. I have a handbag, or I have a shopping bag. And that's how people sometimes say, hey, I have a response handler, or I have a request handler, because that makes it more specific what you are handling with your handler.
And inside of a dot get, inside of like I don't know how to call it. Like you said, hooking up the handler. Inside of hooking up, like inside of the hookup of the handler,
Yeah.
can we inside of this dot get, could we have different handlers than request handlers?
That's just the name. So we could also call it it's your response handler, right? Because if you just write response.send here, why not call it response handler? Like, because it handles the response. But this is just words. We're just talking about the words here. The main thing is you hook up a handler to a get route here, and the arguments that the get function takes in when you hook up a route is a path and a callback function that handles how you want to handle the request and the response.
Okay, so we can't use a handler unless we hook it up.
Yeah.
Okay, and okay,
Because otherwise it would never be called if you don't hook it up. Like if I just define this handler here, well, like this, and I just say, cons my lonely handler. Handler. Like this is never used, right? This is dead code.
okay,
If I put it this, if I put it here, I was no longer lonely. Now it's a misnomer. Because now it's used.
okay. Yeah, I'm just searching for the terms because I need to communicate what I learned in the course when I'm communicating with you to communicate about the concepts. So I'm trying to connect
Of
the
course, and that
dots.
makes a lot of sense.
What is called what, because you used the term handler and I was like, is that the same as request handler or are there other handlers as well? So because I
Yeah.
only heard the term request handler before, so I don't know what kind of other handlers there are than that. Okay. So if someone talks about that they move a request handler somewhere, they probably move up the hooker of the request handler as well.
Generally speaking, yes.
Why is there not a better word than hooking up the request handler? Like, is that just implied or?
You could also say you define the request handler, but the thing is, why it's called looking up is because there are people who use the pattern that I hinted at earlier. So there are people, and in that context, you could also say they're just moving up the handler. That would do something like this, like I will get reviews handler equals the request response. They would define it here, and then in some other file, they would say const maybe reviews router get slash reviews or get reviews handler. No, that people do that too. This could be a totally different file. Well,
Okay.
so some of the people define handlers in a different file. And where they hook it up. And therefore, you wouldn't say, like, therefore, hooking up is the general term. Because if you say, hey, they're defining the reviews handler in this line, are they really? Because technically speaking, this is the definition, right? You usually define a variable when you use a keyword like const, let, or var. So hooking up is just the most generic term where everyone uses, okay, this is probably what is happening here.
Okay. So
But I
what if
wouldn't go
you
around
use?
and call this a hookup because then people will laugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that on purpose. So, so in this case, if I would you if I would hook it up with a dot put
Yeah,
or dot delete,
yeah.
how would I describe it to another coder? Like, okay, and then I hooked up the reviews handler with a dot put or how, like how the fuck do I
Yeah, that,
talk
that
about
would
this
make sense. You could also say, I hooked up the reviews handler as a get route on the reviews router.
as a get route on the review router? Okay, so dot get is a get route and dot delete is a delete route.
Yeah, it's just named after the different methods from HTTP from the HTTP protocol, right? Get, post, delete, etc.
And these are routes, not methods.
Well, here is the next confusing thing, right? These are functions, and we both stayed very consistent when we call something a method and when we call something a function, because we learned, hey, methods are usually functions that are defined on objects if you're very strict. But because people are lazy and they throw around synonyms everywhere, even though it's technically wrong, you will find someone who says, I hooked up the reviews method on the reviews router under the get request, even though it's technically not a method because it's not a function on an object. But people even use the words method and function synonymously.
Okay, but how do I learn to speak precisely? Because I don't want to fucking annoy my coworkers and my, uh, yeah, I don't want to annoy anyone else.
Well,
Never.
as you ask your questions, we will both be forced to speak precisely because
Okay,
otherwise it'll confuse you, and
okay,
you will just trust your brain that you naturally pick it up.
okay. So I hooked up the get reviews handler through a get route on the reviews router.
Sure.
Okay. Through the path slash reviews
Yeah,
or on the path slash reviews.
both is fine. I think both will be understood by your fellow coworker.
Okay. I
Under
mean,
the path
the
is also a way through, under, on.
okay. With,
Yeah.
by,
Sure, if we can make it work sometime.
amidst,
Yes.
amidst.
Decree.
Okay. Okay. So the programming language is one thing, and then the language talking about the programming language is a different thing as far as I'm seeing it.
It absolutely is. But that's why
Okay.
one of the things that we teach people in mentoring is how to be very, very precise with their language and words because it'll make it a lot easier to communicate with your coworkers. Unfortunately, we stumbled right now to a main artist nest because, yeah, especially in terms of like hooking up routers and routes and stuff, it's all synonym hell.
Is there a different? That's my last question for today. Is there a different word than hooking up the reviews handler on a get route through uh, with the get route on the reviews router? Is there a different word than hooking up for that?
Yeah, people could say define.
But that's only with const or bar or let. If we don't have
Yeah.
a const in front.
No. People will use it like it will get even more confusing when we go into software testing because the misnomers there in the real world are just rampant. But there, at least I can teach you the formal definitions, and then you can decide if you just let it slip if people use the wrong words or if you're going to be that annoying guy that corrects everyone. But the real world is full of synonyms. But you could apart from looking up, people say mounting, for example, or registering, or adding, or setting up, or
Setting
assigning.
up is good. I like setting up because hooking up and mounting is both way too sexual.
Yeah, but yeah, it could be setting up.
Okay. Okay, so I set up the reviews handler on a get route or with the get route on the reviews router with the path slash reviews.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, in order to not say router all the time, I would even say I hooked up. Sorry, I set up the get handler for a get request on the reviews path for the reviews router.
Okay, so the adjectives, I don't know, are the adjectives like for and by and like they don't matter that much.
Yeah, not in a broad, not in a series of work where everyone is from a different country, right? And most people speak
Okay.
not native English anyways.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay. Well,
Configuring also. I just remembered you could also say you configure around.
oh no. Configuring is too synonymous with doing settings in a setting.
Attach is also a thing.
I patch. Oh no.
Yeah, attach around. That's also.
Oh no. That's too specific for me.
Yeah.
For this case, like
You will
I
hear
would
lots of
prefer
words.
configuring and attaching for more specific use cases.
Yeah.
But okay, now I know a bit more about the window. That's good.
I just asked ChatGPT. It also suggested handle. So you could say I handle the handler on the
Oh
on
my fucking goodness!
the slash reduce route for the get route on the reduce route.
I routed. I
Yeah.
routed the route
I also
now.
did a reduce route on the slash reduce route for the get route on the reduce route.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, um, day 59 was my last day. Just kidding. Oh, by the way, by the way,
Oh yeah,
we have
misnomed this code
59 already.
sandbox.
You have
No, no,
to.
it's day 59. I think I
Okay,
messed
good.
this up with
Okay.
59. So you can still stay until tomorrow.
I didn't know that about coding, so now I have to reassess. No, just kidding. Of course, we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow we're gonna mount a lot more.
Let's mount some code.
Yeah. Let's get this party mounting. Oh. Okay. Well, this has been a very long stream. We don't have any news right now, but if anyone watches this in the review, I can see why you're not watching this one to the end. Oh, this one was very special. Still, if anyone still watches this someday, thank you for watching. You're loved. You're needed. We need your coding skills. We need you to make this world a better place. In the advent of AI, humans being able to talk to machines is more important than ever. So code every day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for mounting with us. This has been day 59 of, or even wrote 199 days of code. So I think that's binding, no? So today everything is wrong. In the code call with
Leon Andersen and my mentor.
Andersen from TEDx Dev. Bam. That was fast.
Okay, let's hook up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh
Stay
no.
mountain.
Stay mounting.
But